Hello friends! You probably know what it feels like to have one of those days where everything goes wrong. We all experience setbacks sometimes, but compared to the people you will see in today's video, your problems will likely seem small. Passengers in India had their day ruined by a pipe that burst and flooded the train with cold water. In India, train doors and windows are often left open so people can hop on and off. The system works well until a pipe bursts next to the tracks, giving all the passengers a cold shower. Not a single person escaped the wet fate because the stream of water was at exactly the level of the windows. In the end, everyone who was inside the train got wet. On the plus side, those passengers who skipped their shower in the morning were still able to take a quick shower on the train. That is, if it wasn't a sewer pipe. In 2015, an Australian man named Daniel Ford received an unexpected biology lesson when he tried to kill a large wolf spider. After birth, the baby spiders climb up on their mother's legs onto their back. There, they remain for several weeks until they grow up. Unfortunately, Daniel and his broom interrupted this process. The youngsters scattered across the floor, as if in a scene from a horror movie. Daniel tried to sweep away the babies, but some of them escaped his fate and fled. I think Daniel continued seeing them around his house for a long time after that. Another Australian family also survived a terrifying encounter with a spider. When they noticed that a balloon was moving mysteriously in their kitchen, they probably weren't prepared to find out what was causing the movements. Their uninvited guest turned out to be a huge crab spider who was crawling on the balloon. It looked as if the spider was flying, which is an eerie sight. Thankfully, this species is not particularly aggressive. Still, their bites do hurt. Maybe the spider wanted to congratulate the couple on the birth of their new child. Thank God he didn't bring his entire family for the occasion. Here is another family that had a scary encounter with spiders. In March 2022, a couple traveling in Australia found a family of crab spiders in their car. These creatures are very large, but also very flexible, so they were able to slip into the car despite the fact that the doors were closed. The couple had to carefully remove all the spiders before going to sleep. Let's hope that the spiders didn't squeeze through the cracks and crawl back inside again. One of the most joyful moments in life is getting your driver's license and then buying your first car at a car dealership. The day this TikToker bought her first car in 2022 turned out to be unforgettable, albeit for a rather unusual reason. It all happened because of a ceremonial gong and a salesman's excessive excitement. Unfortunately, the young woman overdid it a little and hit the gong too hard. It tipped over and fell right onto her new Nissan. Despite the fact that the salesman threw himself on the ground in an attempt to save the car, it was already too late. Later, the woman said in the comment section that the car ended up with a large scratch and a dent, which the dealership took care of. Of course, this overshadowed the joyful purchase of the car. As you can see, sometimes even the most exciting events are subject to surprises. Another TikToker stood out when she ruined the sandwich that she was so excited to eat. Mallory tried to follow a new recipe she saw on TikTok, but instead of a pinch of salt, she ended up pouring a handful, or rather, the whole jar of salt onto the tomato, completely ruining the sandwich. The incident definitely ruined Mallory's lunch and day. But sometimes, clumsiness has a lot more expensive consequences. A young woman wanted to become a beauty influencer and show her subscribers her new hair care product. Alas, cosmetics obey the laws of gravity. When showing the contents of the jar, Layla apparently forgot that it was a liquid and ended up pouring all of it onto the floor. On the other hand, the almost 11 million views brought her fame. Also, her carpet smells great. This white wedding in the Philippines turned brown when a sudden monsoon caused flooding in the Bulacan province. The young couple decided not to cancel the ceremony and made their way to the altar to say their vows right in the water. The wedding was still beautiful, and everyone's eyes were wet, just like their feet. In 2017, a resident of Jones County, Texas, experienced an unpleasant surprise when he discovered a rattlesnake inside his toilet. Luckily, he spotted the animal before he sat down. The man decided not to tolerate the uninvited guest in such an inappropriate place. He called in a team of experts from the Big Country Snake Removal Company. It was impossible to simply flush the snake, which is a common problem. The professionals used a hook to get the snake out of the toilet, allowing the homeowner to calmly use the bathroom. But how did the snake end up there in the first place? Toilet plumbing is usually connected to vent pipes on the roof, so snakes can sometimes enter through the vent and end up inside the toilet bowl, which is an extremely unpleasant situation. A 2-year-old girl was playing with slime when at one point she decided to put the large sticky blob on her head. Of course, it got stuck in her hair, and her parents had to cancel their plans in order to save it, which took several hours. Unfortunately, this is not the only such incident with slime. This girl decided to smear slime on the table and then fall asleep right on top of it. Why? Either because children are silly or because someone thought it would look funny. After all, it is not clear why someone was filming her at the exact moment. Still, when the girl tried to lift her head and felt the slime stick to her face, her moment of realization and the ensuing cry seem authentic. These are the types of pranks that siblings like to play on each other. We will not know whether this was planned or not, but the slime was for sure difficult to remove. And this girl's day was ruined by a very unusual guest. While she was sunbathing, a feathered thief crept up to her and robbed her in broad daylight. A group of athletes from the University of Tennessee were flying to a tennis tournament when an unexpected incident disturbed their peace. It turned out that one of their suitcases was hanging from a loose luggage compartment. Once on the wing, it was only a few centimeters from falling. Had the turbulence and the wind been stronger, the tennis rackets and balls would have fallen on the houses below, which could have had fatal consequences. Luckily, the luggage never fell off the plane. After the athletes explained the situation to the pilot, he returned to the runway, secured the luggage, and took off again. The young women noticed the problem in time and were able to avoid a catastrophe. But not everyone is so lucky. A pile of spaghetti bolognese is the result of a TikToker's clumsiness. She spilled the food on her bedroom floor. It landed directly on her laptop and a white designer bag. It is for sure unfortunate, but at least the young woman did not become the object of ridicule, which cannot be said of this man. Not only did the sauce spill onto the kitchen floor, but the chef also got into an unfortunate situation when a powerful jet of barbecue sauce shot into his face. While opening the bottle, he accidentally squeezed it too hard, causing it to escape, leaving him with a bad taste in his mouth. The sauce incident was caught on camera and enjoyed by the restaurant staff over and over again. The worker had to spend a long time cleaning up the kitchen, but at least, unlike this young woman, he spilled only one thing. Henrietta wreaked havoc at a grocery store when she accidentally dropped and spilled everything she touched. Walking through the store, the young woman left a chaotic trail behind her, somehow knocking over several packages of cookies before filming began. She then picked up a package of grated cheese, which, unfortunately, exploded in her hands, spilling its contents onto the floor. While it certainly ruined her day, the worker who had to clean up the mess was maybe even less fortunate. The following unfortunate case turned a routine beauty procedure into a real struggle. A TikToker named Jenny developed a severe allergic reaction when she repeated a popular 2022 trend. At the time, many beauty influencers were applying temporary freckles with henna by painting hundreds of small dots onto their faces. Jenny decided to take part in this trend, but unfortunately, it turned out that she was allergic to henna. Therefore, her whole face became covered with huge red spots. However, Jenny was not the only one to get unlucky with paint. This TikToker tried to dye her hair, but forgot to wear protective gloves and ended up accidentally dyeing her entire arm purple. The dye will definitely take time to wash off. The next young woman also dyed her hair unsuccessfully and got branded by the plastic bag that she was using. When dyeing hair at home, it is important to wrap your head for about 45 minutes so that the color gets evenly distributed. But when this young woman removed the homemade wrapper, she saw that the ink from the bag had gotten into her hair. The dye's chemicals had destroyed the pigment in the bag, and she was left branded by the company logo. I wonder if she could make money being a walking advertisement for the store. These dye disasters are terrible, but at least they happen to people's hair or hands, not their faces. In 2022, a TikToker accidentally changed the color of his face when he decided to be an Oompa Loompa for Halloween. To do so, he completely covered himself in orange paint, which turned out to be a little more long-lasting than he expected. Judging by the fact that the paint remained on his friend's hands, it likely didn't wash off for several days. There are people who get shamed on the internet. In 2017, a man named Chris adopted a dog named Bear from a shelter in Texas. When he brought his new friend home, he noticed a small tattoo on the dog's body, which was apparently done by the previous owners. Chris was outraged that it had occurred to someone to do such a horrible thing to a dog. He then decided to get the same tattoo on his arm in show of solidarity with his dog. When Chris shared the photo of his tattoo on social media, he expected support and praise for his actions. Instead, he found himself getting flooded with messages that made him feel uncomfortable. It turned out that the dog had been tattooed by a veterinarian, not a cruel previous owner. The tattoo simply indicated that the dog had been neutered, which is customary to do in some states. As such, Chris accidentally got a tattoo that proclaimed to the world that he was a neutered dog. In February 2022, this TikToker visited the Zhongnan Baichao Garden, a zoo and amusement park in China. Walking through the zoo, he saw a terrifying sight. An escaped anaconda wrapped its giant body around a minibus. After coming closer, he realized that the snake was not moving. It soon became clear that it was actually just an inflatable figurine created to advertise the zoo. Reassured that the snake was not real, the TikToker calmed down and continued on his way. Luckily, he didn't scream or run away from the inflatable reptile. That would have been awkward. Friends, that's all for today. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.